I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Madison Local Board of Education for November 20th, 2012. At this time, would everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Vaccarello, roll call, please.
Jacqueline Asbill. Jay Fabian. Here. Michelle Hayes.
Here.
Rex Ryder.
Here.
Teresa Ward.
At this time, if everyone would take care of their cell phones and PDAs and whatnot, it'd be appreciated. Do we have any students here today for class? All right, make sure you get your notes or agenda, which is, I think, over there, right? We have agendas signed by one of the people up here before you leave. Today's meeting, we don't have many regular items. We did go to the Capitol Conference, so some of the members reported on that. And we will have positive things from our administration on our building project and on our excellent with distinction rating. So if we have approval for the agenda, item 4, we need a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any comments, questions, or discussion? Mr. Vaccarello?
Jay Fabian.
Yes.
Michelle Hayes.
Yes.
Rex Ryder.
Yes.
Vote is 3-0.
And board, now we have a series of 4 meetings to approve of the minutes. And the first one is the special meeting of September 11th, 2012.
So moved.
I'll second.
Mr. Vaccarello?
Michelle Hayes.
Yes.
Rex Ryder.
Yes.
Jay Fabian.
Yes.
Vote is 3-0.
And I'll move for the meeting of the special meeting on September 25th, 2012, if we could have a second.
I'll second.
Mr. Vaccarello?
Rex Ryder.
Yes.
Jay Fabian.
Yes.
Michelle Hayes.
Yes.
Vote is 3-0.
And the special meeting on October 9th, 2012.
So moved.
I'll second.
Mr. Vaccarello?
Jay Fabian.
Yes.
Michelle Hayes.
Yes.
Rex Ryder.
Yes.
Vote is 3-0.
And I'll move for the special meeting October 29th, 2012. We could have a second.
I'll second.
Mr. Vaccarello?
Michelle Hayes.
Yes.
Rex Ryder.
Yes.
Jay Fabian.
Yes.
Vote is 3-0.
And now we're moving on to item 6, board, which is reports. I think if we have comments on the Capitol Conference, we'll do that second. And we do have some recognitions, and the people are here today. So, Dr. Gowdy?
Yes, thank you.
Welcome.
The first young artist we'd like to recognize is Miss Maya Lynn Fuentes, and her artwork entitled Back to School was featured on the cover of our September 11th board agenda. It seems as though Maya was happy to be starting the school as a first grade student at North Madison Elementary. Her art teacher is Micheline Guerrero. On September 25th board agenda cover, we had a wonderful castle drawing by the North Madison Elementary first grade. Oh, this is the second one. I'm sorry, I started. So we have Maya here. Maya. It's the September 11th. September 11th. All right. Now, on September 25th board agenda cover, we had a wonderful castle drawing by North Madison Elementary first grade student Jacob Van Ellen. It's obvious Jacob has spent some time studying medieval castles. Jacob was also a student of Micheline Guerrero. I don't believe Jacob is with us tonight. Okay, and we'll make sure we get him the award. Okay, next, the very full color design by David Doughty provides a very bright, uplifting covers for the October 9th agenda cover. David's abstract artwork was created in his 4th grade art class at Redbird Elementary under the guidance of art teacher Jeff Greer. So we have David. Oh, I thought David was going to be here. Okay, we will get it to him. Okay, even though Leo Frisbee's Halloween Pumpkin was on the cover of a canceled October 30th board meeting, we wouldn't let his artistic talent go unrecognized. Leo's construction paper creation was perfect for the Halloween season. Leo is a 2nd grade student at Redbird Elementary in Jeff Greer's art class. Leo? Come on up, Leo.
some artwork from Mom's refrigerator.
And Leo, you'll always be remembered, Leo, as the day of the windstorm board meeting that was canceled. So you have a historic drawing there. That'll be worth something someday. Okay, for tonight's board meeting, Joshua Moore's radial symmetry drawing is featured on the agenda cover. Joshua's very colorful drawing was created using crayons in his 4th grade art class with Miss Jennifer McKibben at Homer Nash Kimball Elementary. Do we have Joshua Moore? And is there a certificate in that thing that just went back around?
Yeah, I did see one in there.
Did you?
I did.
We got you, Joshua. We'll get you covered here. Is there one for Joshua?
There's one here.
There we go. There we go. All right, Joshua Moore. It's obvious we have quite a number of talented artists in our elementary schools. Next, we would like to recognize the accomplishment of McKenna Virag, a sophomore at Madison High School. McKenna has has been selected to participate in the 2012-13 Cleveland Youth Wind Symphony on the oboe. This is a very prestigious group, and the honor for McKenna to be selected at such a young age. The Madison High School Music Department and the Board of Education are very proud of her accomplishment. She will be performing with this group throughout the school year and at a concert at Severance Hall. Congratulations. Is she here? Oh, unfortunately, that's a tremendous accomplishment. So that concludes our recognitions.
Okay, we were at the Capitol Conference a few days ago. Was it a week ago? Anyone like to report on their findings or anything else they have for board member reports or at a future time?
Sure, I'd like to say a few things. Did you want to excuse if anybody wanted to leave? Did you?
Oh, yes. If you want to leave now, you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting, so.
Are you ready for that Thanksgiving dinner here? We recognize the value of getting mothers home.
And if you want to leave later, that's fine. There's no.
You're welcome to stay.
Yeah, we'd love for you to stay, but we understand that, if you want to go, you're welcome to.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Careful the cord.
I just wanted to say that I had a really great time at the conference and sat in on a lot of good informational sessions. The one that I probably enjoyed the most and also feared the most would be the one with Chardon. I sat in on the 2-hour seminar that Chardon gave about readiness, what they had done to prepare themselves in advance for what happened, the response, of how they all responded and what happened that day, and then the recovery. And I took some things away from that, some things that they recommended that I've already talked to our Chief Delcazo about, and also Officer Clark, and some things that I intend to speak to you about as well, some things that they recommended that we look into and some things that we did. And then also both Lieutenant DeCazo and Jason Clark had indicated that they will contact this Lieutenant Troy Duncan, who was there from Chardon PD, and have a discussion with him about, what happened that day, what worked for them, what didn't work for them, and just having that resource so close, having somebody, right near us that's been through it to see if there's anything that we can learn from their experience.
Great.
But I sat in a lot of different sessions, but that's definitely the one that stuck with me the most. It was a very emotional 2 hours. But overall, the conference was good, and I appreciate being given the opportunity to be able to go.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you.
Yeah, I also had the privilege of attending been there 25 times or so, and I'll tell you what, it's flat amazing, all the different board members that come, and superintendents and treasurers and stuff like that, but the sessions and the wide range of sessions. I happen to go to, and I enjoy going to all the legal updates, and when you have that many high-powered attorneys standing up in front of you, you have the opportunity to listen and learn and get a better understanding of the laws, why there's laws there, and what to be prepared for, or kind of, if you can ever be prepared for any of these type of legal situations that we can get into within the schools. Probably the real highlight is, as I've said in the past, of the trade show. The trade show is, it was down a little bit this year as far as the number of booths and vendors, but still unbelievable amount of things that a school can get involved in. I don't care whether it's programs, whether it's computers, software, hardware, heaters, football fields, to lighting, to scoreboards, to right down the line, food and all kind. So, but opportunity to learn, and learn more. And we're all about education, and this is a great opportunity for board members to educate themselves. And so it was fabulous. So thank you for allowing me to participate as well.
First of all, I apologize for being late. I had some things I needed to do at work. The most enlightening aspect of the OSBA conference for me this year was attending the session on preparing for 2014. I'm not sure how public it's been made, but there are a lot of changes that are coming down the pipe for our school system, for all school systems in the state of Ohio. The way that the core curriculum is changing, the way that our students will be tested is changing, and the implementation of how this is all going to happen is still very vague. There are more questions than answers given in that session, and the state Board of Education is trying to come up with the answers so that we can have, a smooth implementation. But, the community should be prepared for a lot of changes in the year 2014 educationally, and what it's going to take for our school system to get there. I think we're all going to have to be geared up for and be a little flexible, in understanding that, there's some changes in the way that our kids are going to be tested. And in order for us to get on track and be prepared for that, it means that we may be teaching one set of curriculum and making changes in one direction, and still next year being tested on the old system. But if we don't make those changes now, we won't be ready for 2014. So, I'm sure that we'll be doing making our best effort to communicate what those are, as the time comes. But, there are some significant changes that we are going to be working, our administration is going to be working very hard to implement. So just be notified.
All right. Well, I attended many sessions. One, I'm a delegate, so we went to the platform, which is, whether you know it or not, the funding for schools in Ohio has been unconstitutional, ruled by the Supreme Court 4 times, and they still haven't come up with a platform yet that's been accepted by the courts. And then, of course, a few of us got to meet Diane Ravitch and her lecture on the death and life of the great American school system. And she was a devout Democrat and happened to be on President Bush, W. Bush's Assistant Secretary of Education. And she talks about testing and kind of the history and the background of how it was nationally, how things changed from before No Child Left Behind and No Child Left Behind and what's happening in the future. And that was very interesting. But the main thing I went to was on strong schools, strong communities, equity funding for Ohio schools. And I don't know if Michael, it was basically on charter schools and how much money the school systems have dealt out. I thought the figure was $2.8 billion since the beginning of charter schools in Ohio has gone to them and has left public education. So we're looking for money that should have been ours. It's been dealt out from various school systems to fund charter schools. And it's kind of leery of what the purpose of charter schools was originally to what they're doing now. And Mike, did you have anything for us now? Or?
I was going to hit it during my
Okay,
treasure.
very good. And so that was that. Again, I thank the board also for sending us. I thought the trade show was exceptional for our purpose, since we are building new buildings. We got to see things kick the tires, so to speak, as opposed to looking at catalog, at a picture, and it was very exciting.
Rex, if I could just make a comment right quick, because I sat in on the first session of that, and there is a gentleman in the state of Ohio that received $65 million in state funding from the state of Ohio. That is money that could go to local school districts, but it goes to him because he owns charter schools. He is the principal, the superintendent, and the Board of Education of his school. How that could possibly be legitimate is beyond me, but he receives all of that money that could be going to us.
And you look at performance of those schools, and it doesn't surprise me that he's the principal superintendent, and they're not performing very well.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, they don't. He doesn't have a Board of Education that he has to answer to. He is the superintendent that he has to answer to as the principal. So, yeah.
And there's really nothing wrong with a little bit of healthy competition.
Oh, no.
I think it helps, everyone, strive to be greater than what they are. But with the current rules in place being that, the charter schools can pick and choose which students they want to accept, and we can't. And then, they take these students, and if they fall behind and they end up back in the public school system, which typically happens, we have to pay for the interventions to get them back up to grade level. The private schools, the charter schools are not challenged with that. So not only is it taking money away from our students, but it's in essence leaving us a lot of times with the more expensive students, being that they have higher needs, and then forcing us to, the taxpayers to also pay to rehabilitate some of the students that have taken a step backwards by going to a charter school when they come back into the public school system. And, I have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with the competition. I have a problem with the rules behind it.
And I would agree 100% that I don't have a problem with competition at all if it was a level playing field. And for years, certainly it wasn't, because for up to a couple of years ago, they weren't even tested. So now that they're being tested and they're finding out that on the same test, they're performing so much lower than all the chartered public schools, it's really a travesty, because one of the things we're finding is the kids that leave us and come back are exactly like you said. They come back to us at the same level they left us. So now we're obligated to provide those interventions to try to bring them up to speed, so that student cost us more to educate than they would if they had stayed with us from the first part.
This is a difficult subject, in the fact that it's easy for us to sit in our board room here in our nice school district that's excellent, and now excellent with distinction, compared to parents that have to send their kids to inner city or Appalachian type of schools where they don't have the teachers, the facilities. Thinking there's a lot of facilities have been upgraded, but the parents don't have a choice to send their child to a school that's 20 miles away or 20 blocks away that absolutely are horrendous in education and their qualities and their levels. So there needs, and not only that, but that public school is getting half again as much money to educate their children as we are for our school district. And they're still failing. So these people only have one chance to send their student to get a decent education. Until we fix those schools and bring those standards up, charter schools are an answer. And if somebody is not giving the education that they are promised with their charter in their charter school, they need to be out of business. But if they're not, if they're not doing it, get out of business or stay in business. Same with the public school. If you're not producing a better product of education, then you need to be out of business. Okay? I don't know how you do that, but it's nice for us to sit here in a nice school district with very good teachers and very good administration to kind of say, no, you guys shouldn't be doing that. So what I'm saying is there's a conversation going on out there, as it should be, to bring education up to standards all the way around.
And as long as those standards are
respectfully
the same.
disagree with
fine.
Okay, you're allowed to.
Okay.
You're the professional.
Well, and if you listen to what Diane Ravitch had to say, she's one of the people that was pushing for all these levels of accountability. She's one of the people that were the think tanks that were saying that American schools were so bad. But after revisiting it, and looking at the data and drilling down into the data, what she found was that American schools are competitive. American schools, if you put first of all other schools and nations in the country, and all this chartered school movement was founded on us not competing with other countries around the world globally. All other schools around the world don't test all their kids. That's number one. Number two, if you take, which we test in our country, 100% of our kids, we're not competitive with other countries in the world. If you test, according to Diane Ravitch, you test 50% of our kids, which is more than any other country in the world tests, we blow them out of the water. If you test 75% of our kids, we still rank higher than any nation in the world. Only when you test 100% of our kids versus other countries testing less than 50% of their kids are we not ranked number one in the world. And the second point she made in her presentation, if she did the same presentation that I went to, was that if you look at our universities in the country, look at all the countries these kids are coming from, they're coming to our country for our university education, so we must be doing something right. So the whole movement that we're referring to here, or talking about here in the privatization of schools, was based on a false premise to begin with. It was based on American schools weren't competitive. American schools are competitive. Okay.
Another point that I thought was really interesting that she made was that if, among the countries that perform better than us on the tests where they pick their best and brightest students to test, the percentage of those students who are living in poverty is well below the percentage of our students that are living in poverty taking this test. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of statistical evidence that shows a direct correlation between poverty and, and state achievement. Not that there's not children that break down those barriers, because there are, but as a whole, statistically speaking, it has a huge impact. And we ranked with Somalia as far as our the portion of our students that are living in poverty that are taking those tests, which is horrible, which is absolutely horrible.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, the other thing I'd like to mention, that the last point that she's mentioned in the book is that there's something innate about American public education that you can't test for it in the school system, you can't research it. It is something that is inherent with our teachers, the way that they work in the classroom, the way that we work as a board and administration, that you won't find anywhere in the world, and that is the American spirit. And she says that is kind of the product of American education, and that is something that you don't really test for it, but when the kids that come out of there time and time again, it makes us the best country in the world.
I couldn't agree with you more, Mr. Reiger, because I witnessed that firsthand today. I mean, all this stuff we talk about, OTES for teacher evaluation and principal evaluation, our custodian that's retiring from North Madison today, they did a clap out for him. If you could have seen the look on his face, it was priceless. Kids were coming up and hugging him. He was walking down the hall with a tear in his eye. That's what we do better than everybody else. That's what makes Madison better than most school districts. It's that caring about what you do. It's that caring for each other. It's that familia or family-like atmosphere that we convey here. You can't measure everything on a standardized test, I'm sorry. And that's why it sickens me to see the direction public education is going in Ohio with teacher evaluation, with principal evaluation, to where they're putting so much stress in the lives of these people that are good people, that are good teachers. They shouldn't have to come to work every day and prove every day that they're excellent. We have some darn good teachers in this district. We have some darn good principals in this district, administrators, custodians. We have some good people, and they're producing, and they're producing. And I wish you could have seen Bob Tryon today, because it almost made me cry just watching the experience, because that's what do they say? It takes a village to raise a child. That's what it's all about. Those kids truly love that man.
They do.
And
Respect him, too.
Respect him, and for the kids to clap him out today, he'll never forget that. And you'll never see that on a test score. You'll never see that on an evaluation form, but that is huge in the education of children.
Well, by the year 2014, they will force us to teach the test. They're basically, Ohio is forcing school districts
Sure.
to teach to the test. And just a few short years ago, the thought was, don't teach to the test, teach what the children need to learn, but also creativity and all of those things are really important. And the way that they are proposing we evaluate teachers and principals basically says, if you don't want to be fired, then you need to teach the test. And I just have a huge problem with that.
As do I. And if somebody told you every day you went to work that 50% of your thing is based on the performance of the people under you, the kids, the results, you're going to teach to that too, because that's what these people are going to be evaluated on. That's the criteria. 50% is going to be on their students' performance.
And for the principals, it's 50% of all the classrooms underneath.
I don't have a problem with teachers being accountable for the growth of their students. I have a problem with them being held accountable for, the level the children is at when they come in their classroom, as opposed to, the average norm. But I don't have a problem if, a child is assessed at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year, a teacher taking some responsibility for that growth and development. That's what they're there for. And if we have great teachers, that shouldn't be a problem. But the methodology that is being posed by the state goes way above and beyond that, to factors that, basically, like I said, they're going to require teachers to teach the test, and it's going to be, teachers, if they see that they have students in their classroom that are behind, instead of saying, what a fantastic challenge, I'm going to give my heart and soul to this kid and make them better, they're going to say, that's not a performing child. Oh my goodness, how many of those kids do I have in my class? Oh my goodness, I'm going to lose my job. And that is just so backwards from the direction we should be heading.
That has to be
It's really
changed.
sad.
Well, and I'll
Really
tell you,
sad.
5 years from now, try to find a special needs teacher, because no one's going to go into that based on the current criteria, because you're based on the same test. They're not a different test. You're based on the same snapshot, and who's going to want to do that? Because they're not going to be able to keep their job. The system is not right. The way you described it, I could deal with. If it's on performance from
Right,
two different...
That's not the
way it's going to be.
That's not the reality. That's
Yeah.
not what Ohio's thinking right now.
Yeah.
You might be interested that Ms. Ravitch is very high on peer review.
I like peer reviews.
She's very high on that.
I'm very high on peer review.
Can we move on? Are we good?
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, at this time, we'll have public participation on agenda items only. Anyone like to speak at this time? On the agenda. Okay, we'll move on. Moving on to reports and recommendations of our treasurer, Mr. Michael Vaccarello.
Thank you. The first thing I'm passing out has to do with what you were talking about, the funding to community schools and the other money that leaves a public school district. When Michelle was talking about there's a charter school that receives $65 million, that money doesn't get paid from the state to the charter school. That is money that is originally allocated to a public school, then is redirected to a charter school. For example, in Madison, we get almost $2 million from the state. Community schools, we have 68 kids leaving, taking with them almost $380,000 or $5,572. So the state values each kid leaving this district going to a community school at $5,572. We are in the business of competition in public schools in Madison. We are an open enrollment district, both incoming and outgoing. We have 34 kids that choose to get their education somewhere else. We have 3 times that many that choose to come from other districts to attend Madison. So within the same set of rules and guidelines, we are a district that is competing very well. And the treasurer drives them out of the room.
They're leaving now as we
It's
speak.
the numbers.
They don't ever leave. They're Madison diehards.
Your boys are very well behaved.
We have 34 people leaving, students leaving Madison, and the total there is about $195,000 or about $5,700 per pupil. And then there's autistic scholarship. We have 1 student that takes advantage of that, and that is set by the state at $17,500. So the remaining funds is what we get per pupil in Madison, which is $4,113. So the state is actually sending more than they give us to community schools, other districts, and the scholarship. So when the state says they are just redirecting dollars they give us, that is incorrect. They're redirecting $4,100 that they give us, plus up to another $1,600
Of our taxpayers'
of the
money.
local taxpayers.
Yep.
The local millage that these residents voted on to provide education to the Madison local schools is going elsewhere. And we don't have a choice. So that was something that Rex had asked me to provide based on one of the sessions he sat in at the Capitol Conference.
Oh, I'm sorry, go, Michelle.
I just wanted to point out that as far as open enrollment is concerned, that does not bother me because it's state money and our money, but state money going from one public school system to another public school system. It is the community schools that bother me because it's state money going from a public school to a for-profit school.
Correct.
And that is where I have the problem.
The other item I have, if there's no other questions on it.
No.
Okay. As you may be aware, I'm the fiscal agent for the Lake County Schools Healthcare Consortium. The fiscal agent contract is currently held by Riverside Schools, and I perform my work within that contract. The healthcare consortium, that contract expires June 30th, 2013. The healthcare consortium voted to have me continue as the fiscal agent and the contract be held by the Madison local schools. What's that mean for us? Well, in a nutshell, we're going to charge the consortium $30,000 the first year, and the cost to the district for the time of the people involved is going to be somewhere between $14,000 and $15,000. So by allowing the contract to be held now by Madison instead of Riverside come July 1st, 2013, Madison taxpayers will benefit by getting the profit of $14,000 to $15,000. In order to make that happen, a couple things must occur. First, the executive committee of the healthcare consortium needs to actually approve the contract. And what I'm passing out first is the contract that I'm going to propose to them. It names me as fiscal agent or the treasurer of the Lake County Schools Council, and it names my 3 staff members as kind of assistants within there. They won't really have to do a lot of work, but every bill that we pay has 2 signers, and all the transmissions that we have within the banking system have to have 2 people involved because of the dollar amount of the transactions. Again, I would look for the compensation for everyone involved to be at their hourly rate, and even at that, it's still going to be a very good business deal for the Madison schools. So that would be, once the consortium approves that agreement, then I need to have the agreement approved by the Madison Board of Education. It will actually take 3 resolutions to make all this happen. And I actually had it for December because I thought we would be meeting to discuss this in November, and then the executive committee would meet sometime in November, December. But now it says December or January business meeting because I don't know when the executive committee of the healthcare consortium is going to meet. I don't know if there's going to be a meeting in November or December. So the first time opportunity that they will have to approve it would be January, and then I would bring it to this board shortly after that. The three resolutions, first is again to approve the contract, second to approve me as the treasurer, and third to approve the other three people in the treasurer's office as helpers, for lack of a better term. So it,
Okay.
Good deal.
right now, Riverside gets to keep the profit because that's the way we set it up. As you recall, when I came on board, I did work a deal out with Riverside that Madison Schools is getting $200 a month for any expenses they may incur. I got to tell you, in 18 months, we might have used $100 worth of postage. So it's worked out well for Madison, but it'll work out even better when we hold the contract here.
Very good.
Thank you.
So on to the items.
Just a question of, you're an employee of, your helpers will be employees of the health care thing here, or are they still
No,
going to stay
they're
with
still
Madison
employees
Local?
of the Madison schools.
Okay.
And when I did the budget, I did not only the hourly rate, but I looked at the pension contributions, the employer part of SCRS.
Is it going to expect additional hours?
Yes, most of the work needs to be performed other than their regular business hours. That's why I'd be looking for compensation. I do a lot of this in the evening and Saturdays and Sundays. It's just the
Do we
nature
run
of
into an
the beast.
overtime situation?
Even with the overtime, we're still way ahead because I'm doing most of the work. I'm probably doing
Yeah.
90% of the work and I don't get overtime.
Yeah.
Anybody else that's doing it, it's probably an hour a week for each of them, not even for each of them, for one of them. It's just I'm naming all three because it'll be convenient if one person is out and I need to make a payment.
Right.
I don't have to
Wait for-
track them down, or as I do on vacation, I sit in the hotel and approve payments. So fortunately or unfortunately, I'm the final stop in all the payments. So one of those three would be the first person to input it in the system. But I would expect if they're going to be compensated, it's outside the regular business hours.
Thank you.
On to the agenda items. The first item is to approve the financial reports for September 30th, 2012, and the payment of the bills for September 2012, and also October 31st, 2012, and the payment of bills for October 2012.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments, questions, discussion? Mr. Vaccarello?
Rex Reiger?
Yes?
Jacqueline Asbill?
Yes.
Jay Fabian?
Yes.
Michelle Hayes?
Yes.
Vote is 4-0. The next item is to approve the transfer of $19,895.10 from Fund 004, which is the building fund, to Fund 002 debt service for the interest on the House Bill 264 notes. If you recall, we did House Bill 264, which is energy conservation, in the high school, the current middle school, and Redbird. We paid for that with a loan of about $1.5 million. We had $19,895, I don't want to say left over, but because they gave us favorable payment terms of 1.5% if we paid within 10 days, we made that payment in every month except for one. I'm using the difference between the original contract amount and what we ended up paying to pay the interest on the loan for the first year. Our net cost for borrowing almost $1.5 million for a 12-month period is less than $400 because of being able to pay the bill timely. And this just allows me to transfer the money from one fund to the other to pay the interest.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any other comments, questions?
Awesome.
Thank you.
Mr. Vaccarello?
Jacqueline Asbill?
Yes.
Jay Fabian?
Yes.
Michelle Hayes?
Yes.
Rex Reiger?
Yes.
Vote is 4-0. The next item is to approve the revised Madison Local Schools 403B plan. This is, the only revision in this plan is to allow employees to put money into a Roth 403B. It's much like a Roth IRA, but we don't have IRAs in the school district. We have 403Bs. Private industry has 401Ks, different code section, but without a revision, we can't allow people to put 403B, Roth 403B money away.
I'll move.
Second.
Comments? Mr. Vaccarello?
Jay Fabian?
Yes.
Michelle Hayes?
Yes.
Rex Reiger?
Yes.
Jacqueline Asbill?
Yes.
Vote is 4-0. The next is to accept the following donations: a $50 Target gift card from Target National Bank to North Madison Elementary School. The donation from Mr. and Mrs. Tom Geyer of books and games to North Madison Elementary School, and a donation of $25 from Barry Densmore to be used for the AV department.
So moved.
Comments, questions, and thank you. Mr. Becquerel?
Michelle Hayes?
Yes.
Rex Reiger?
Yes.
Jacqueline Asbill?
Yes.
Jay Fabian?
Yes.
Vote is 4-0. And the final item is to approve the repayment of an advance from Fund 002 Debt Service to Fund 001 General Fund. We had to advance some money to the debt service to cover some of the outstanding bonds. That approval was done a few months ago. This was the remaining interest in that account, so I'm starting to repay that advance little by little.
So moved.
I'll second.
Mr. Becquerel?
Rex Reiger?
Yes.
Jacqueline Asbill?
Yes.
Jay Fabian?
Yes.
Michelle Hayes?
Yes.
Vote is 4-0. And that's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Becquerel. And now the reports of administration team, Dr. Gowdy and Mrs. Smith.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Reiger. Quite a few different things, because we haven't met for a while here. One is, and it seems like old news now, but I got to beat our drum one more time about our celebration of excellent with distinction rating for our school district. I mean, most of the board members were there, and we had a great day, and if you haven't seen it, it's been playing continuously on Channel 22, and I hope we get different things up there. But I've heard unbelievable amounts of positive comments as a result of that from staff, from community members, from people that don't even live in the community, from superintendents from other districts, from teachers from other districts, that we took the time to celebrate excellence with our entire school district. As late as today, I had somebody come up to me saying that we should do something similar to that every year for our kids and community. And I said, well, if we keep performing, maybe we will. But it was a tremendous day, and again, it's a tremendous achievement by a lot of people. The second thing I want to talk about was I've already mentioned about the clap out for our custodian at North Madison, but Angela and I both went to OPES and OTES training, Ohio Principal Evaluation System and Ohio Teacher Evaluation System. And again, we'll play by the rules that they make. Unfortunately, the rules keep changing, and unfortunately, I think the intent of the rules isn't always pristine. But we've always played by the rules in Madison. We'll continue to play by the rules. But I never want to forget that it's that interaction between the teacher and the student that is the most important interaction that happens every day. And how those teachers come in, the attitude the kid comes in with, the student comes in with, the parents come in with, and wanting to be successful, and wanting to work together, and wanting to be good at what you do is so important. And I'll put it right out there. It's caring about what you do. And we have a lot of caring people in this district. We really do. The third thing I want to talk about was at a parent meeting today with the PTAs. Well, I'm calling them PT whatevers because we have PTA, PTU, PTO. I don't even remember all the PTs. But anyway, well, I met with the PTs today and the PT leadership, and we're working toward coming to some common ground when we open our new Southern and Northern Elementary. As I spoke to them today, and this is a rumor that's going around, and I'm going to put it in double bold print, and please make sure you play this part of the tape over and over again. We are not having all-day kindergarten next year. Nowhere did we say we were going to do all-day kindergarten. We're having half-day kindergarten. We're having kindergarten at the Northern Elementary. We're having kindergarten at the Southern Elementary. But it's going to be half-day kindergarten. For us, the minimal cost for us to go to all-day kindergarten is about $600,000. That's minimum. That's not supplies, anything else, that's staffing. We're not in a position financially that we can do that. Would love to be able to do it. We can't. But I just want to dispel any rumors. I did today with the PT leadership that we are not doing all-day kindergarten. It's still half-day kindergarten, and there will be kindergartens in the north, and there will be kindergartens in the south.
I think that probably the reason that started is when we were campaigning for the new schools.
Yeah.
One of the key points was these schools will be big enough so that we can have all-day kindergarten. They will be big enough to accommodate that.
Correct.
Unfortunately, the state has decided that, they needed to make some changes in the way that we're funded and make it completely infeasible for us to do that. But I know where that rumor's coming from, and it's coming from a legitimate place.
And I'm not trying
The
to-
state funding has really put a damper on, what our intentions were.
Not trying to quash the legitimacy whatsoever. I'm just trying to say
Sure,
that,
I just, for the
I just want to make sure the
people
correct
thinking, I know they got
information is going out there, that there is no all-day kindergarten, it's half-day kindergarten.
Yeah, the buildings are one thing, but the staffing is another. And we, at this point, cannot afford the staffing. The buildings will be large enough to have it.
Yeah.
In the past, we've not had, we were in
Space.
situations where we didn't have the building, but we had the staffing availability and/or dollars to work with it. But we didn't have the building space. So
Correct. The other thing we talked about was the attendance areas that the board's already approved for the north and the south elementary. And we committed to them that our teachers would know by mid-January and our principals would know by mid-January, and we would notify parents by March 1st of the location, even though the attendance area maps are up there. One of the things, and we're meeting weekly now with our entire A team because we're calling it big chunks. There's a lot of big chunks out there that we have to come to closure on. And one of those big chunks is staffing of these buildings. We're going to have input from a lot of people, but right now, we have to really, with the third grade guarantee, look at where we're putting people based on their licensure. So we can't put all those people in the northern elementary and not have them in the south. So we're teasing out that detail. Angela and the principals are teasing out that detail now. Once we come to some form of finalization with staffing, we will have input from the teachers and see, we'll hone it down. But a lot of this is going to be driven by licensure. Whether we like it or not, we have to have the correct licensure at each building in order to provide the education for kids. So we will have input, but it's probably, and we will have final results on that of where the north and south, who's going where by mid-January for the teachers. And we've committed to the parents that we'll have notification out to them by March 1st. And then we're going to meet again with the PT groups, because what I'd like to do in April is have a meeting here at the high school because by then everybody will know which building they're going to. I'd like to meet together as a group to form parent groups, and then we're going to separate out with building principals and teachers to two different parts of the building, and we can talk about organizing the PT whatevers for the two elementary school. So when we start the year at the two elementary schools, we have a parent group in place. So just so you know, that detail hasn't gone unnoticed. Okay, what else? I think I covered almost everything. The only other thing I'd like to do is wish everybody a happy and healthy Thanksgiving. This is one of my favorite holidays because it doesn't involve gifts. It involves families getting together and being thankful. And I think that's important. I think we've gone, and some of the other holidays have gone to such extremes with all the shopping on Friday all the way through Christmas. I think Thanksgiving is truly about family. Thanksgiving is truly about getting together and being thankful for your health and happiness and everything you do. So I'd like to wish everybody, the board, administration, and all of our students and parents a happy Thanksgiving. That concludes my comments.
Mrs. Smith?
Yeah, I have two things quickly related to the new buildings. Because we want to have a firm idea about numbers in kindergarten, at least to see how many kids will be enrolling for next year, we are going to do our registration a little bit different. We are going to at least do the paper part of the registration sometime after the holidays in January. We will get information up on the website, but since this is going out to many homes in the community, if you know of people that have an incoming kindergartner, have them start looking at the website in January so that we can hone down how many kindergartners we're actually going to have for next year, so that will help make staffing decisions. The second thing that you were given tonight were some things on the gifted services plan, As you're aware that we're going to have that gifted services special education audit the first week in December, and we just needed to update some of our paperwork and some of the changes that we made in the last couple of years to the gifted program. So it's just to be compliant. And that's all I have, as well as a happy Thanksgiving.
Well, and I apologize. I promised Mrs. Gabor that I would do an infomercial for her. And the band, the marching band patrons are selling bricks from the Memorial Complex. There's two different versions. There's one that you can buy for $15. It just has a plate glued on it. And then there's a nicer version that comes on a wooden pedestal with an engraved plate on it for $45. But the deadline that they'd like is December 7th, I think, for ordering these things, because they have to order all these things to be assembled as opposed to paying for all these assemblies and then not selling them or being stuck with them. So if you want to order, you can contact Ms. Gabor. Gaber? Guy that was
Gaber.
Oh, Gaber, okay. You can contact Ms. Gaber, and or you can contact the high school directly, and I'm sure they can put you in charge with the marching band patrons.
Did she give her phone number or contact?
Let me look at my sheet here. Actually, you know what?
She gave it to us in the meeting, I think.
I didn't write it on the sheet.
Yeah. That we all, I've seen the email, I think all the board did.
We could probably put it on our website.
Yeah, we can get it up on the
Oh, I see what
website.
you got.
And the December 7th deadline is just in case you want it in time for the holidays. I think it's a rolling
okay,
project.
okay.
Because they took quite a few bricks, but they don't want to, mount many if that's not the way the
Yeah,
orders are going to go.
why-
So
why
they're
waste
doing
the
it,
money?
yeah.
Okay, so I did my infomercial. Thank you, Mr. Reiger.
Back to you, Dr. Gotti, for
Okay.
recommendations.
All right, beginning with I'd like to ask the board to engage in the following personnel actions. One, the board to approve the following leave request for Shannon Sampson, beginning February 19th, 2013, and ending April 9th, 2013. I'd like the board to adopt the suspension of the following employment contract of Greg Haycox, maintenance staff, effective November 25th, 2012. For the board to enter into the following employment contracts. First, with Nicole Wood for long-term substitute from October 3rd, 2012 through June 7th, 2013. And to employ Barb Loftus for a one-year limited contract as an educational assistant cafeteria position for 2012-2013. To employ Kim Keener to a one-year limited contract as an educational assistant cafeteria position for 2012-2013. To employ the following 9 non-certificated persons to a one-year limited personal service contract, beginning with Steve Couch and ending with Eddie Carney. To employ the following 4 certificated personnel to one-year limited supplemental contracts, beginning with David Negan and ending with Steve Reed. And to employ the following 15 substitute teachers as approved by the Lake County Educational Service Center, beginning with Catherine Battaglia and ending with Sarah Wren. And the following 12 persons as casual day-to-day subs, beginning with Sharon Alcantar and ending with Kathy Zoller-Ghazi. And finally, the Board of Education accepting the following resignations. Jackie Wallback, effective October 13th, after 16 years of service. Jody Rebar, food service manager helper, effective November 9th, 2012, after 14 years of service. And the resignation of Barbara Loftus, educational assistant cafeteria, October 23rd, 2012. And finally, to accept the resignation of David Negan, Madison Middle School 8th grade girls basketball coach, effective October 1, 2012.
Motion, please.
So moved.
A second.
Comments, questions, discussion? Okay, Mr. Vaccarello?
Jacqueline Asbill?
Yes.
Jay Fabian?
Yes.
Michelle Hayes?
Yes.
Rex Reiger?
Yes.
Vote is 4-0.
Item B is to employ Shannon Kavanaugh under a long-term substitute contract effective October 15th, 2012 through January 22nd, 2013.
So moved.
I'll second. And comments, questions, discussion? Mr. Vaccarello?
Jay Fabian?
Yes.
Michelle Hayes?
Yes.
Rex Reiger?
Yes.
Jacqueline Asbill?
Abstain.
Vote is 3-0-1.
Item C is to adopt the following retirement resolution, and I just talked about earlier today for Bob Tryon, Robert Tryon, has been a dedicated employee to the Madison Local School District for the past 20 years, and Robert has provided great service to our school district and care of our students and facilities through his exemplary performance of his duties, and that the Madison Local Board of Education recognizes with appreciation his contributions to our community, to its young people, and wishes Bob well upon his retirement.
So moved.
Second.
Comments, questions, discussion?
It goes without saying that people like this that are behind the scenes are not really behind the scenes as they think they are. Somebody like Bob has always been there, kept the places immaculate, and
Never complain.
never
Never.
complained, and good spirit, and a good example for the kids of that hard work pays off, and
He took great pride in his work each and every day.
Yep.
You always went in that building, and he would just show you through his actions with the students, or in the summer when they were doing cleaning, just how much pride he took in his job each and every day. He will be very, very missed.
Mr. Vaccarella?
Michelle Hayes,
Yes.
Rex Ryder.
Yes.
Jacqueline Asbill.
Yes.
Jay Fabian.
yes.
Vote is 4-0.
All right, the next two resolutions in item D, one is a resolution declaring Red Ribbon Week, October 22nd through 26th, 2012. That's to say no to drugs and say yes to healthy lifestyle. And the other resolution is declaring American Education Week, November 12th through 16th, 2012, for teachers, administrators, counselors, librarians, nurses, and other instructional leaders.
So moved.
Second.
Both of these have already happened.
Comments, questions, discussion? Post greetings. Congratulations. Mr. Vaccarella?
Rex Ryder.
Yes.
Jacqueline Asbill.
Yes.
Jay Fabian.
Yes.
Michelle Hayes.
Yes.
Vote is 4-0.
And item 11 is for your input, and the approval won't be till next board meeting. We always put board policy on. This is the last section for the Neola policy that we need your input on. We'll approve it at the next meeting, and then we'll put an effective date for all board policy under the Neola to be effective January 1st. So this happens to be the 7,000 category for property, beginning with policy 7100 through policy 7550. So if you have any input tonight, fine. If you have any that you'd like to give me between now and the next meeting, that's fine too.
I have a question.
Sure.
The use of tobacco on school
I
premises.
already told them to.
Okay, no, we already approved that in a different set
Okay.
of policies, so I just want to make sure that we're
It's consistent,
consistent
right.
and
Correct.
whatnot, 'cause it's in two different places.
And I did point
Thank
out to Mrs. Smith already that the tobacco is on all school grounds, which isn't in the policy right now that way, in the Neola. That was crossed
Right,
out.
in the last version, it was all school grounds. That's what we,
Not, in our version, but
In
not
our
in the old
version.
version. We have to make
Right.
sure they
Yeah, we'll,
mesh.
Okay.
I got that note.
Okay, thank you. Any other things that you'd like us to look at, or, again, if you don't have it tonight, just call us. Okay. If not, moving on to the consent calendar, and I'd like the board enter into the following agreements, contracts. Consultant contract with Mary Crow for director, arrange the musical Schoolhouse Rock, and to approve the contracts with Madison Local School District and Geneva, Buckeye Local, Sheffield Lake, Painesville City, Jefferson Area Schools, Perry Local, and Cleveland Municipal Schools to provide educational services to students with disabilities, open enrolled or court-placed. And to approve the middle school cross-country activity account, to approve the gifted education plan as mentioned by Angela, our assistant superintendent, for 2012-2013, and to approve the following programs listed below, found on file at the board office: current events, physical geology, personal fitness Zumba, and fundamentals of cooking.
Motion?
so moved.
I'll second it. Any comments, questions, or discussion? The cross-country count, that's just something that popped up, or?
Yeah, they had requested that they be able to keep their own money separate, so in order to do that, we need a separate activity
Very
account.
Anyone else?
Is it the same size as the football's budget?
Almost.
Almost.
With the J. Fabian Foundation.
After your contribution.
Remember, activity accounts are
Well, I
completely
understand.
student managed.
I know what they
and
are.
There's no
I understand.
general fund funding.
I
for those.
understand.
Okay.
Mr.
My
Vaccarello?
little,
Jacqueline Asbill?
Yes.
Jay Fabian?
Yes.
Michelle Hayes?
Yes.
Rex Reiger?
Yes.
Vote is 4-0.
That concludes my recommendations, Mr. President.
more All-Americans have come out of our cross-country program in football, so I want to hear your words.
Apples and oranges, but moving on. Public participation. Anyone out there has something you want to say? Can we move on? Okay. We only got another hour, so we'll be done. You know? Just kidding. We don't need an executive session. I pulled some of the people here, Mrs. Asbell and Mrs. Hayes, for the need of an a work session or special meeting in December. So, right now, the ball's in your court.
I will defer to the group. The only thing that I have due to you guys is the evaluations, which I will have completed the type form to you guys. I think that's something we could probably handle over email. I don't think that we necessarily need to meet for it. That was the only open issue that I think we need to get closed relatively soon.
Mrs. Hayes?
That's fine.
So our next meeting would be then December 20th, is that correct?
December 18th.
December 18th.
I think it's 18th, isn't it?
18th.
It is.
18th, yeah.
And we'll have that recorded then and make sure we have notice out. for that
Always.
week. Okay. Before we adjourn, everyone have a happy Thanksgiving, of course.
You too.
And thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
We have a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
I'll second.
Mr. Vaccarello?
Jay Fabian?
Yes.
Michelle Hayes?
Yes.
Rex Reiger?
Yes.
Jacqueline Asbill?
Yes.
Vote is 4-0.
Thank you, everyone. Make sure you get your agenda signed.